everyone, and welcome to the Greater Dater podcast. I am John Polansky. This is Arianna Jeret. That's Jeff Gross. And welcome to another fantastic and extremely informative episode. And before we go any further, I just want to say where you can find us, and that's on Facebook, The Greater Dater, Twitter, @GreaterDater, and we have our own website, thegreaterdater.com, and you can email us at greaterdaterpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes. And I was just thinking this past week a lot about this issue that I've experienced online dating in my 40s with men, and I wanted to get your guys' take on it, which is there's this conversation that happens a lot about whether or not you have baggage when you're dating. Or like
Louis Vuitton?
I've dated a lot of girls that have.
Do you have Louis Vuitton?
No, but if you have a Louis Vuitton, doesn't it imply you have baggage?
Nice baggage.
Yes. Nice baggage, but inevitably very deadly baggage.
Okay, well, I'm going to skip because I don't know. So,
yes.
No, but there's a lot of stuff like on the front of people's profiles, right? No baggage here. Don't have any of your own.
False. Any girl that says no baggage immediately says, I've got tons of it, but I think I don't. So I'm just going to tell people I don't. You know what I mean?
Can you say that one more time in English for me? Because that really messed me up.
What is baggage to you? Define.
Well, okay, so
Sorry.
What?
I was going to say that was exactly my response.
That's my problem with it, is that I think it's so subjective.
Okay.
You know, I think some guys, it's their way of saying, I'll ask a guy, why didn't it work out with the last person you were with? Well, she had too much baggage, or she was damaged, or she was this or that. And I think when they say baggage, a lot of times they mean kids.
Okay.
And they think that it's a nicer way of saying it. Sometimes I think it's because, you know, when you get a divorce, especially if you have kids, you can't just be separated from your ex.
True.
You know, I had this conversation with somebody I dated where they were saying, you know, you talk about your ex so much. Well, because they have my kids right now, and I have to leave by a certain time because I have to go get my kids from that person. And then a lot of the things that happen in my life are about my kids. And we share joint legal custody, so I have to confer and consult.
Well, is that a fair assessment for someone to say, oh, she's got baggage when she has a family and she has, you know, this pre-existing life? Is that fair for them to say this person damaged goods? Because I know that's your favorite word, damage. Is it damaged goods?
Well, I don't technically have a problem with either word. Yeah, you know, I have baggage and I have been damaged by some things that have happened in my life.
Okay.
I'm 42 years old.
Okay.
And I don't think that I know anybody who is at all honest with themselves or anybody else who, if they were asked directly, do you have any, you know, baggage or do you have any damage that's occurred to you over your life, who could honestly say, nope, I'm good. I just don't think it's possible.
I think there's a threshold that everybody has. I mean, if you have extreme situations, kids, divorce. I mean, that's, even though that's kind of become the norm. No. I was going to say, even though it's kind of become the norm, it's extreme for somebody who, say, hasn't. So they don't know what those boundaries are. They don't know what the situation is with that kind of thing. They don't understand sharing kids. You don't understand. I have to leave by 6 to pick up my kids. You know, they don't understand those things.
Right. Or I have to text my ex, or I have to take a call from my ex because they are currently in possession of my children.
Right.
You know, you can't just break off communication like with an ex-girlfriend or boyfriend.
Yeah, I think baggage definitely, when you hear the word and you think about it, I think it definitely starts with previous relationships. I think even more so than kids. Because, I mean, a lot of people will talk about if it's ex-boyfriends or ex-husbands or ex-girlfriends or whatever. So I think that's where because there's a lot of unresolved issues, that's where the baggage claim starts.
Good one.
Claim.
Good one.
Oh my God, look what I just did right there. I'm so proud. So I think that's where it starts. And then you get into kids and you get into issues. This person's OCD, this person's ADD, this whatever it is. So, but again, are we fair to evaluate someone because they've had a colorful life, if they've had a full yet maybe somewhat problematic past. Is that fair to make those kind of assumptions or no?
Well, I was talking to a friend about this who's a divorce mediator also.
Okay.
And she sees all the same kinds of things that I do
Okay.
in the office. And her response, because I told her somebody just broke up with me and they said that they thought that I had too much baggage.
Okay.
And she said, I think if you've gotten to this point in life and you don't have any baggage or any damage of any kind, you've led a really insulated, boring life.
Exactly. I agree with that.
And then I was thinking even further, then you're kind of damaged in a different way.
You are. And they haven't had those life experiences that would make them more interesting, I guess.
I just had a thought. It's like, okay, so my dad is a microbiologist.
Okay.
And when I brought my first son home from the hospital, he had been in the intensive care unit. And so we had to scrub our hands every time we went in. So at home, I set up the antibacterial, scrub stuff. And my dad went through the house throwing it all out because when you Purell nonstop and you're constantly cleaning your hands, you don't get exposed to anything. You don't build up antibodies. Mm-hmm. And then you can't survive. Right? Because you can't fight anything off. I think it's time we started looking at our emotional lives that way. You can't Purell yourself emotionally your whole life.
Well, how do you get a thick skin? I mean, how do you really learn coping skills, And if we don't have to deal with things, there's nothing to cope with.
Right. And it definitely, I think, peppers and colors your future experiences and your future relationships when you've had something to reflect on in the past or something that you've had to deal with in the past. So, look, I think that anyone says, no, I don't have baggage, I'm baggage free, you might be a little bit more normal than the next person. But like I said, we all have baggage. We've all dealt with something or someone in our life that makes us who we are. And if someone else doesn't want to date that person, then move on. It's like most people know full well that someone who has kids, who's been married, is going to have some dynamic aspect of their life that's going to, either hinder or maybe benefit a future relationship. So baggage I don't know, maybe it can be a good thing. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, I keep going back to the thing of when you meet somebody and all of a sudden, we were talking earlier and one of you guys said, he looked in her eyes and he saw baggage, and it's like, really, like what? I mean, unless she's got heroin tracks on her neck, okay, you might need to really think about that one. But at the end of the day, if it's somebody who's interesting, don't rule out, find out what your quote unquote baggage is that you think that this person has, because you don't know how deep it runs. You don't know what it is, and discarding somebody just because they're married or they were married and had kids, I don't think that that's fair.
It's so funny. I was thinking about a friend of mine who has a good, an initial baggage meter question that he asks now. And it's taken him a little while to figure it out. I'm not going to reveal his name.
No, does he call it that?
No, I just made that up. But,
okay.
So he asks a girl
Bagometer.
What her relationship is with her dad. Because if it's not a good relationship, chances are she's going to have some daddy issues and some stuff going on. And I thought that was, it's
valid. To an extent.
Yeah, I can see that actually being. I don't even know how. It's a legitimate question. You can sprinkle it in with, are you get along with your parents? You don't have to be as direct, but you can talk about family life and that sort of thing. But if there are some issues, that could be telling, and then that could prevent you from meeting that person in a good way. So,
here's the problem. I think that there's a lot of truth to it.
Okay.
And my mom's thing is, actually my mom said that to me when I was in college. She said, look at a picture of his dad, because then you'll know what he's going to look like when he gets to be that age. And I just saw a picture of you and your dad on Facebook together, and it's correct. Your dad is a good looking and shaped guy, so it's a good thing for you, right? But I'm just saying, I think that there's something to it, and to looking at a guy's relationship with his mom. Mm-hmm. And then this is where, playing devil's advocate back against my own thinking and argument here, I know I have a tendency to over-accept people's baggage and to try not to hold it against them. And then just, judge them. Everybody has
Which
it.
can, by the way, it can be a positive or a negative thing, I think.
Right. And
you
so
can
then,
be very accepting when you shouldn't be and vice versa. So
exactly. So that's my point, is then how do you, draw that line for yourself between like the good baggage and the unhealthy baggage?
That's the $1 million question as far as I see it. What do you determine as baggage that could totally blow things up, or is it baggage that can be just somewhat problematic? But then again, all relationships have their ups and downs, so just dive in and see where it all leads.
Well, but I think I keep going back to this because it is a relevant issue, at least in our dating pools, is the marriage thing with kids. I mean, that's, like I said, became the norm. So there's a threshold there of either how bad the situation is, or then taking it the next step. Does the person have DUIs? Is that going to be an issue? Do they keep losing jobs? Is that going to be an issue? The baggage kind of really expands from there, and that can destroy a life and destroy a relationship in a heartbeat.
I think it's our responsibility to really ask the important questions. If we're very serious about someone, or if we really like someone, I think it's very fair to ask certain questions that might be a little bit of a hot topic, to find out the answers, to know whether this person can be a good mate or not. Relationship with, like I said, with a parent, relationship with an ex. What's your family like? I hear so many stories about people that don't get along with their siblings, and that's a red flag for me. It means that there is a bigger, deeper, darker issue there, and that might not be someone that I want to actually pursue. So, baggage.
Right. That to me is about figuring out your own priorities.
Of course, and
because you have a great
different
relationship with your siblings, right?
I'm spoiled in a good way, but yeah.
Yeah, but it would make sense for you to find somebody else who relates in that way and has that. Whereas somebody who's had trouble with their sibling, maybe it's helpful for them to meet somebody who also has that trouble.
Exactly. So you can there's more relatability.
Right. So. Like, I know, no offense to you guys, but for me, it's in some ways, it's really nice to date a guy in all ways. It's nice to date a guy who has kids already because they get it.
Right.
I don't look for somebody who doesn't. If somebody doesn't have kids, that's almost more of a red flag to me. Not that they have a problem, but that we might have an issue.
Right.
Right.
And I'm just thinking, I'm realizing that I think I have the answer to this whole.
You've got all the answers?
I have my tips.
Okay.
No, I have my tips.
Okay. So what are your tips, Ari?
But I just need to start following them.
Okay.
Because I came up with these a while ago. Everybody puts together these lists. Not everybody. Everybody puts together these lists of what I want in the next relationship. And you have your reasonable to unreasonable lengths. I put together a list.
My list is, let me see how many pieces of paper I have.
Your list cannot be calculated.
Let's see.
With the world supply of trees. That currently exists.
You know what, Jeff? I'm going to need a couple more pieces of paper. So
Done. I'll bring that right in.
But I made a decision when I started dating after my divorce that I wasn't going to make that list, but I was going to make a list of behaviors that I wouldn't tolerate in my next relationship.
I think that's great.
Absolutely.
Right? I wouldn't tolerate somebody who yells at me. I wouldn't tolerate somebody who won't hear my opinion. I wouldn't tolerate somebody who doesn't want my career to be important or celebrated or doesn't want to be a partner. Everybody's list is their own list. And where I've run into problems is when, all right, that thing, they just did it, but they had a really good reason for doing it, and they're not going to do it again. So I'm going to see, where it goes.
Are you firm on this list?
And then they don't do it again, and then they don't do another one. No, that's my whole point. I have not stayed firm to the list.
You haven't, okay.
I feel like if I would stay firm to that list, and if people would make that list for themselves.
So what's preventing you from staying firm on that list?
That's a good question.
I only ask good questions.
We bring up my therapy so often here.
Listen, you don't have to pay me, $200.
All right, so let's let it all out. No, so honestly, I think that I just tolerate too much from people because I feel like I'm certainly nobody's angel, and I have my moments, and so I think that that I shouldn't hold it against them necessarily.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
But I don't mind it. I mean, I'm willing. This is my overall statement for the day. Thank you, John Polansky. We all own baggage. Claim it.
Claim it.
Claim it.
I like that. Claim your baggage. Don't try to dance around the topic and pretend that you don't, because we all do. Some more severe than other. I mean, it's out there. It happens. That's what makes us who we are. That was makes us colorful, unique, awesome human beings. Own it and check out or check in, whichever. Great stuff, Ari. Great stuff.
Well, thank you for answering and sharing
Of course.
openly and honestly with me, Jeff and John.
Thank you.
So, how do we find us again? What's the whole
rigmarole?
The whole rigmarole.
So we can be found on Facebook at The Greater Dater, www.facebook.com
Yes.
/The Greater Dater, Twitter at Greater Dater,
Website.
thegreaterdater.com, and we can be Gmailed at greaterdaterpodcast@gmail.com.
Correct. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm John Polansky, Arianna Jeret, Jeff Gross. See you guys next time.